Hey guys, it's Chris here with this week's creative class. And this one is scrapbooking layout, and it is called, let me just reference my actual title, Moments in Time Layout. So earlier this month, right, I taught this, the first $1 million card in the series, and it featured the beautiful galleries. And while it was out, I thought, why don't we also create a layout with those same products? And I think it turned out super pretty. So we're going to do some fun things on the layout. And I'm going to add my desk in here and I'll show you what I created. So we'll just move this card out of the way. Don't forget, this is in the albums if you are looking for it. So there's a new album that's called $1 Million Cards, and it's also in the interactive cards because it falls into both categories there. Okay, so here is our layout. And I thought it was just super pretty. It's also a very just usable pattern. So one of the fun dies in this bundle is this frame die. And I thought, oh, it kind of looks like a little bit like you could easily create like a gallery wall with it. So that is what I've done on this side. So you're going to notice the photographs for this side of the layout, the left-hand side. The dimensions are a little bit funky, but that's actually just so that they can fit into the frames. And don't worry, like it's not, sorry, it's not a hard dimension to actually crop a photo into, right? And you can actually use the frame to help you. We're going to, and so there's an SVG in the album. We're going to do some coloring with blends on all of the images. And I pulled in one of the new dies that are in the September to December, which are called the Tradition Labels die. So when we get there, I will show you that. And so for this layout, I also wanted to do kind of a different color combination than we created in that card, so that if you wanted to do kind of a different combination on a card or scrapbooking layout, you'd have like another fun little combination. I did pull in some of the Country Woods paper just to kind of give it like that rusticy feel to it. So I'm going to do the coloring up front because actually the assembly is super simple. I'm also going to only color like one set of each of the flowers on camera because I do have them all die cut. But because they're kind of like repetitive, I'm not going to color all of them because you guys would be bored to death. So, but if there's a different like color combination, I'm going to do that on camera. So for this one, I'm just going to pull one set. And so that way too, if you want to fast forward through this part, like maybe you don't want to use the same color combination I'm using, so you don't really want to watch me color, don't worry about it. Feel free to zoom ahead. So this one we're going to color because we've got the gray and blue combination. We're going to do this one. We're going to do one set of this on camera. And then I did already color one of those. That's pretty simple, but I could do another one. And then for the other side of the layout, the large flower is the same, but I'll color one of these in this color combination. So just let me move this out of my way for right now, and we'll start coloring. Okay, so I did just grab another one of those. I will color one of them on camera. Like I said, I kind of kept to the same color palette, but I did change it up on these flowers from one side to the other just for a little bit of a variation. So first off, I'm just going to say that I did all of my stamping. Don't need those yet, but I did do all of my stamping with gray granite, and I set it aside and let it dry. Isn't this, like, I just have to say, looking at this color combination on camera in front of me, I actually really love it. So, sorry, I just got distracted. This is super pretty. Anyway, so I did do all my stamping with gray granite, and because I wanted more of a subtle look for all the stamped images, I didn't want like a black memento black line. And so just so you realize, I did not stamp with black at all. Okay, so this is the color combination that we are playing with today. So we have here Old Olive, Peach Pie, Calypso Coral, Lost Lagoon, and then I also grabbed gray granite to kind of bring in the color that I was stamping with. So first off, I'll do the tiniest piece that I have. And so I did do all of the leaves with Old Olive. You could add in a different green if you would like, or something that you felt matched your flowers, your photos better, your flowers. So just blending them back. And then for the little flower here, I did use the Calypso Coral. And because it's just a tiny space, I did do just my light coloring first. Actually, maybe I'm just going to zoom in a little bit here, and hopefully it's not too much. Wrong way, Chris. There we go. Okay, let's just see. Okay, and then I just took a little tiny bit of the dark and laid it around the base of these flowers. And then I will just blend it together. And when you watch me coloring too, you'll notice that sometimes I'm switching the tips up and the color order depending on what I'm doing. So there's that flower colored. Then I'll do this one. And so for this large one, I did use Peach Pie and the Calypso Coral, and then the Old Olive also for all the green. Lots of times if I'm coloring and I want just like a little bit of a smaller tip, then I will flip to the smaller tip. But quite often I do like the brush tips if I can use them, if they're fitting in the space. So right now we're going to color this one. I'm just going to lay in some of the light Peach Pie. So kind of on, and as I've always said, my coloring is not perfect. I just like to play with it and see what I can make happen. You could totally, very easily also add, make your flowers different colors from each other, right? Because here we have a trio of flowers. I just kept them the same, but I also think they would look great in different colors within the flower. I'm going to add a little bit of my darker Peach Pie, and then I'll add in the Calypso Coral also for some even darker spots. just because I felt like because this was a bigger flower, I had more room to play. I was able to bring in like another color. But you could also just use like the one set of colors if you didn't want to bring in the Calypso coral. And I'm just going to start with the light. If I feel like I need some more, I will bring in the darker, but I didn't actually use the dark on this one. Okay, and then I'll go back and just kind of blend the colors together. And here, when I do this one, you'll see you don't even have to color everything, right? You can see that I just added the gray and actually used the white of the cardstock as a color. Okay, and same thing, I'll just add in my old olive. And if I was to do any, like after this, any more, I would give it a little bit to dry and kind of process before I start adding in a ton more color. Because obviously as they dry, they do look very different, right? So I almost want to give it like some time to mix with each other. Okay, so we'll do this little one, and I did use Lost Lagoon and Old Olive for this. Oops, that's my dark. That's okay. I'll just have to blend it out a little bit more. Okay, and then for these little flowers, I'm just going to lay in the light and then tap in dark so that I still have like a little bit of all of the colors. So I'm almost just like scribble coloring in with my light Lost Lagoon. And then I will just tap in the dark into the center of the flowers and the petals. So pretty. Okay, so I'm going to use just my bullet tip and just tap in here. Just to get some different color combinations, and then if I feel I need it, I can go back in and blend out some spots. There we go. Okay, so that's one of those. And then, so for this one on this side, like I said, I used the Lost Lagoon in the center, and then the gray granite blended out, but leaving the ends of these flowers white. So I'm just going to, I don't know why, but I always color my leaves in first, or quite often. I should not say always because that's probably an overstatement. But I quite often do the foliage first. And I don't know if it's because then it helps me focus on the flowers maybe. Okay, I'm just going back and blending it out a little bit. Okay, so then on the centers of the flowers, I used the Lost Lagoon. So that's just the light. And then I'm just going to tap in some of the dark just with the bullet tip, just to give it some darker spots. And then I'm going to use the light gray granite, and I'll go out as far as I'm going to go, and then I'll add the dark into the bottom of the petal. Leaving all of my tips white. And I do love that by using the gray granite to stamp, it gives the flowers a different look than using Memento, right? And it doesn't have to be gray granite. It could be a different gray. Okay, so now I'm just laying in some of the dark in all of the spots where the artist actually gave you the shadows. And I will just blend a little bit. And I'll let this dry. And then I did on all of the flowers add the Castella. So once I'm done coloring the color combinations, like the single color combinations, then I will paint them with Stella just to show you my little stack here. But I'm going to, so right, this is the same color combination, right? But so I'll do this one. And so this one I did with Calypso Coral, and then Peach Pie in the middle, and then the leaves are all the old olive, right? So same thing with the leaves. And the reason that I don't do the Wink of Stella right away is I want to make sure that like I've got enough color on there, right? I don't need to go back and add more. That's why I just give it a little bit to dry before I'll go in with the Wink of Stella. Okay, so my centers of my flowers here, I did do the peach pie. So same thing, right? I'll just lay in the light color and then tap in some dark spots. Okay, and then the flower is Calypso Coral, so I'll go in first with my light. And even when I'm pulling all the way out, I'm making sure to leave a little bit of white in certain spots, because a flower, right, the colors of the petals aren't the same, like they're not uniform all the way through. So I'm totally good if there's a couple of little white spots, and even I might cover those up in my next pass through, right, when I go to blend out the dark. And that will just give it that much of a different kind of look from just being uniform all the way through the flower. Okay, now I'll pull this out, and like I said, some of those white spots then I will now make an effort to cover up, because they will then in turn be a slightly different color than some of the spots that were just the light layer. There we go. Okay, so then I took my Wink of Stella and I'll go, I guess, in the order that I'll add just a little bit onto the floral images. You could also totally leave this off. You could splatter them just instead if you would like. You could also, don't forget, mix ink with Wink of Stella to do your painting too, if you would like, if you want that sparkly look all over. So this one, I'm just going to tap, like I'm not painting the whole flower, I'm just tapping some of the Wink of Stella into each of the flowers. Okay, so that's how I did all the flowers. I'm going to go and I'm going to finish coloring if there's a second of anything. So I need one more of these, one more of these, and one more of these. And then, so I'm just going to pause for a few minutes and then we'll start assembling. Okay, I'm back. Everything should be dry by this point, and we're going to start assembling the layout. So one thing I just wanted to show you, because I was talking about this gallery, right, and the funny sizes for your photos, but here I'm just going to show you, and I literally randomly grabbed the closest photo in my office. But I was just going to show you that actually, like, it is actually super easy to find a spot to crop on your photo down to these sizes, right? So you would just kind of pick what you wanted to frame in your photo. That's the smaller one. And then here is the larger one, right? So I might, instead of going by the dimensions, right, that I have listed, I might almost just take my photo that I want to use and adhere it to the frame and then trim out. Unless you want, like, because even you could actually, right, you don't have to go all the way to the edge if you wanted to frame it out a different way. And like I said, it's pretty easy to find portions of photographs that you could still crop down to this size, right? So like I said, this is just a random photo that happened to be beside my desk. So I just thought I would point that out before we start, so that you don't feel like, oh, that's a super weird size. How am I ever going to find a photo to fit that? The other thing is, I'm just going to show you. Sorry. The pieces and where I got them from. So this frame right here, you just have to cut one time. I used both pieces of the frame, so it's this piece of paper. The bottom one, I just flipped it over. So that frame is this piece of paper, and on the back it has that pattern. And then this frame right here is this piece of paper, and it has this on the back, just in case you wanted to actually know the pieces of paper that I used. And then on the other side, I'll just show you this while we've got the paper out. Behind here, I did actually use the 6x6 DSP for the first layer of frames. And so I'll just show you where I got those pieces from. So I just kept them here so I could show you. So this one is this frame. This piece is this frame. This piece is this frame. And then this piece is this frame. I just thought I kept them in a pile so that I could show you exactly which pieces of the 6x6 I had used, in case you wanted to use exactly the same. But this layout, obviously, you don't need to have this designer series paper. You could totally use anything. And because it's not a ton of paper, this is really something you could very easily create with from your stash. I'll just show you again. So it's the same stamp set, bundle, the gallery in blooms, and the frames are right here. So like I said, these two frames I cut out together. So it's just one pass through the die cutting machine, and I just flipped one over so that I was using both pieces. You don't have to do that. You can make them all different. It's totally up to you. And then I did also use the Beautiful Motifs dies just for a little bit extra in some of the cardstock colors to tuck into the little clusters you'll see as we go. And then, like I said at the beginning, I did use one of the new dies. This is Traditional Labels dies. And so I picked these because, like, they had super pretty decorative edges, but obviously any die works. I just wanted to play with this, and I thought that because of all the decorative edges, it lent itself very well to go with the galleries in bloom. So that's, I think, what I wanted to show you. Okay, so now we can actually start assembling, and I will start with the left-hand page. Like I said, the SVG is in the Google Drive already. Just waiting for you. You could see here, I used it quite small. You could use it again on another layout larger. You could also put your title in this space if you didn't want to do like a gallery, photo gallery, right? So there's lots of ways. Don't forget to just use SVG, even if you don't want to use it the same way I have. Like I said, this is from the Country Woods paper, because I also thought it just kind of lent itself, because of the wood, it made me think of frames too, right? So on the back is the pinkish weathered wood. So I'm just going to add them at the top and the bottom. And my background is the Lost Lagoon. And then my scallop pieces are cut from Basic Beige, because Basic Beige has kind of that green undertone that matches with the Galleries in Bloom so well. Okay, so just a nice wide wood border at the top and bottom. So then the scallop piece is cut in two, right? So I just centered it on each side. And when I go to add my other side, right, I'll just make sure it is lined up. On the two edges. Okay, so let's start assembling our little gallery. I also added the black frame on the back of each of them, and that's just because I thought it kind of, when I wanted to create the gallery wall idea, it just kind of dropped a little bit of a shadow onto the background. And I thought it made it look more like how it would actually look hanging on your wall. Okay, so we've got that one down the bottom, and then I'll add my large one. And if you don't want to use the frames, I think I said this at the beginning, but I'll just say it again in case I didn't. You could totally just swap these out for standard size photos and a standard size photo mat. I'm just paying attention because I want to make sure that I'm putting my flowers in the right direction when I add them as a frame. They are like, it's not, you're not going to actually see the image, but I think that it would call attention to your eye if you put it on upside down. So I am just kind of being conscious that, like, here's the middle of a flower, right? So that one right there, and then our last one. And same thing, right? You wouldn't want to put your scene on sideways, because even though you might not notice it right away, you might notice it later. So when you are cutting the frames, be mindful of the direction of the paper and the way that the frame is going to sit on your layout. Okay, so this is our little cluster for over here. And I popped these two up on dimensionals, and this one is flat. I'm just going to add all of these though flat. And if I go to add photos later, I can actually just trim out my photo right to the right size to fit in here. So I don't have to worry that I don't really have a photo at the moment to add. Okay, and then I have this little die cut here, which I will add on dimensionals because we'll be tucking stuff underneath. So I have one of my finished colored flowers, and you can see the little bit of Winkostella. So I'm going to add that right here. And then this sweet little die cut is Calypso Coral. And this just gets layered over top. We need a little bit of glue here. Okay, and then for the twine, I used the Baker's Twine Essential Pack. And I used the like off-white color. For this layout though, I'm going to use the gray just to show you that like all of them work. That's why I picked that grouping of Baker's Twine, is because I thought literally all 4 of the colors, or 5 of the colors, I think I just don't have any of the black left in there, but all of the other I'm sure well, the black actually would work too. So all of the 5 colors would work with this layout, right? So we're just going to do a little bow here, and I will attach that with a glue dot. Right here. And then this cluster gets finished off with some gold sequins. So I always just dump some into the lid, right? And then tap them onto my glue dots. You could also very easily use glue for these. Okay, so then we have our little title cluster on this side of the page. And so that is formed with this really pretty round piece. And this is kind of neat too, right? So it's got openings, so you could pass like ribbon through it or another piece of paper. Kind of just a fun little bit of a different die cut. So we're going to use this as like our foundation piece here to start this cluster. So I have one of these. I have this piece right here, cut out a basic beige. I'm going to add my title on dimensionals. Okay, so that's going to go kind of right here. Then I have this set of flowers we're going to add down here. The little tulips, I'm going to say. Right here. And then this piece tucked in right under there. So I'm actually going to start with this piece because I know it's the bottom. Right, and I'm going to actually tuck this just underneath. So I haven't pushed that all the way down yet. Some glue on this piece. Some dimensional on here. I'm going to tuck this one though. So I can add my title and then I'll tuck the little piece underneath. So I've not actually pushed down on that just yet, because I can decide. There we go. We'll add some more twine. Can add this with a glue dot. And then again, just my sequins to finish off this cluster. And I'm just grabbing like a variety. I actually like the different sizes and kind of combination. There we go. So we've got the left-hand page now all assembled. I just have to decide. I think I will. I wasn't going to, but I think I will. Trim my ends. Okay, so like I said, I think that all those essential twines go perfectly with this color palette. Okay, so then we will just quickly assemble the right page. I'm just going to put this one here, right, so we can line up our scallops. So I'll just put in the base of the page and then I'll pull my original in for you to see. I loved the mixing and matching of the colored images with these fun extra die cuts just from the cardstock, but you could also like add color to these too. I just decided to add the color right by changing the color combination of the die cut, but you could like ink blend on them, you watercolor the images. They're just so pretty. Okay, so same thing. I'm just going to add my top and bottom. Okay, so this is right my original, my one I'm matching, right? Because you can tell because I've got the gray twine. So I'm just going to line up my scallop so that it makes a square. And then this one goes on the outer piece. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to pull back in my original now. Here we go. Oops, this slid a little bit here. Let's just fix that. There we go. Okay. So here we go. We have the photo mats. And I'm going to do one to show you, but you guys have all seen me do this before. But so these are all 3x3 photos. Then, like I said, I did use the gray twine and wrapped it around. So I didn't actually need to add adhesive to this piece just yet, but that's okay. So I'm just going to wrap the twine around. Tie it off. Trim it. I'll pull out the ends. You also don't have to. You could tie it in a bow too. And then I attached this piece with dimensionals. and add it to my black mat. You could also create this whole layout just using cardstock, right? So now I'll start adding my little gallery here. And I think the dimension behind the photos also kind of like mimics the gallery frame we have going on the other side. So I did add journaling lines down this piece of the scallop paper. So I'll just show you. I'm just going to draw a couple of the lines because you don't need to see me do all of the lines. But I would just line it up. And you can decide how far down you want it, right? So I know that this is like my little cluster that's going here. Also, if you don't have as much to say, right, you don't have to add as many lines. You could just do a few. And I would just pay attention on my ruler that I'm kind of doing the same distance. I actually don't think I went that high. So we're going to start here. So, and obviously you just keep on going down your layout. I'll do a few more. I did add, so kind of my vision for what I'm going to use on this layout for is I thought that I have some family photos of like me and my extended family. And so I wanted a little bit more room to add the journaling about the story about how the photos came to be, because it's not always so often that you get to do like a photo shoot. It was not a formal photo shoot, but there was like a large percentage of my family there. So we did do some like group photos that we wouldn't normally take, like cousins and stuff. So that it, because of the, I don't know if it's just because of the gallery kind of concept of it that I thought that's what I would use it for. But that it's my idea for this layout because it was just like a moment in time that got captured, right? That, like I said, does not happen very often. Okay, so you can do as much or as little as you would like, right? So this one I did maybe a little few more lines, but I can add those in after. You get the idea. You could also just add another cluster down here if you would prefer. Okay, so all we have left to do is to add the clusters into the different sections. So I'm going to do this one first because we're there anyway, and there's not as many parts to it. So I did use this really pretty little die cut. Go about here. So one I did flat. And then I'll pop this one up. I will add my little bow. Attach it with a glue dot. I'll be trimming off these ends for sure. I can add my sequins. There we go. Okay, and so the last thing is just this one last cluster here. And how fun is this one? I thought this would kind of be perfect for like a date or like family time, something along that lines was kind of my idea as to, or I could actually do both because there's two banners. So I thought this was just kind of a very unique little banner. So I decided to use that one. We'll pop this one up on dimensionals. So I'm going to add this. I'm going to put these together how I kind of want them. And then adhere it down because I kind of have them like intertwined. There we go. And I think I'm just going to cut this piece off the bottom so that I don't get like a piece sticking out that I don't want to see. Okay, and I'm going to pop some dimensionals from underneath here. There we go. If I feel that needs to be adhered more down once I put this down, I'm just going to put a couple of drops of glue there. You could also just use a glue dot. I seem to have some extra glue here, so I am just going to use it. So it's just a little piece of cardstock from my garbage, and I just pulled that glue off, right, and so that I can use it. And I'll just hold those down for a second. I don't want this one all the way down because I need to be able to add my photo underneath, but this one's touching the frame. And just adding my sequins, and we're done. So as I finish up, I'll just remind you that this layout will be, you'll be able to find all your links in the August guide. So that's where we have everything stored chronologically. And oops, a flying sequin. And also you'll be able to find this within the scrapbooking layout album if you prefer to search things that way. We tried to make it like super user friendly for you to be able to find things in different ways. Also, don't forget you can always use the magnifying glass at the top of the group also if you're trying to just search for something. Okay, so I'll just bring my other one back in. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. You are welcome to drop them in a comment below the video that you're watching, and I'll come back and address them as soon as possible. And I hope you guys enjoy this beautiful galleries layout that's called A Moment in Time. So that's what I've got for you guys today. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.